How are you?
Doing well.
Good. I don't see
How
me,
are you?
which is not the worst thing in the world, but my camera's on, but nobody's home. Isn't that funny? That is bizarre.
There we
I've been on
go.
Zoom meetings all day, and it's not showing up all of a sudden. The good news is you don't have to see me for some reason. So I would
The
apologize,
Invisible
but that's
Man. The
I was
Invisible
that's
Man.
right.
There we go.
Invisible Man.
I got to work
Yeah.
that
Very
into the
appropriate.
intro now. Yeah. HeyComicCon.com. We have two comic book giants with us today. It's the creative team behind the new Universal Monsters limited series, The Invisible Man. Unfortunately, for some reason, I am the Invisible Man right now because my camera doesn't seem to be working for this chat. But you're not coming to see me. You're coming to see James Tynion and Dani. Welcome to both of you. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to Comic Con.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you for
For
having us.
You bet. For our audience, if you have not had the chance to pick up this book yet, which just came out, you absolutely need to. The first issue is a page turner. It's fantastic. You will find my review on the website. But to James and Dani, I know you're both chomping at the bit to work on this series. If you think about it, it's a really old story, right? It goes all the way back to H.G. Wells. The movie from Universal is almost 100 years old at this point, which is
Yeah.
crazy to think about. It was
Ooh.
1933. What made this project so appealing to each of you?
So, basically, a few years ago, the incredible editor Alex Antone took me out for a drink at San Diego Comic-Con, and this was right after I had just stepped away from writing superhero comics, and I was focused all in on just doing original stories. And that was really like, and I was firm on that in my heart that that's all I was going to do. And then Alex Antone, who I had known for years, told me that Skybound had the Universal Monsters license. And I was like, damn you. Uh,
Never mind.
yeah. And basically, by the end of that meeting, I said there were two monsters that he was not allowed to give away to anybody else. And that was Dracula and the Invisible Man. Dracula, it's just like the figure of Dracula is so larger than life, and the story of Dracula is something that has always like meant a lot to me, and I wanted to put my own mark on that, and it felt like a logical place that if this was going to be the first book in the line, you want to start with a figure like Dracula. But Invisible Man is my favorite of the Universal Monsters movies. The James Whale films are the best Universal films.
Yeah.
And The Invisible Man, I think, is the his finest work over there. Or it's like that and Bride of Frankenstein are pretty neck and neck. Uh, but that was like really what brought me to it from the start. But it was intimidating. It was intimidating to sort of look at how to approach the story because I wanted to treat, similar to how I did in Dracula, I wanted to treat every element in the film as continuity. And so
Mm.
we had to find our own way into this story and tell a complete story that was complementary to the film without contradicting any of the elements in it. And thankfully, I got to do that with an incredible partner in Dani, who I recruited onto the book also at a con bar, which is where the magic really ends up happening
There's a
in a
red
lot
thread
of
that's
these
going
things.
through the story, isn't there? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Comics creators drink a lot, I think.
Yeah.
So, Danny, why
But
why did you say yes?
well, for me, it was actually we've wanted to work with James on something bigger for a while now. So
Yeah.
that came first for me. That okay, now is the time, and we were talking about that uh, in England at Thought Bubble
Yeah.
outside that bar, and he said, do you want to do Invisible One with me? And I was like, oh, yeah, of course. Okay, I love horror, and James is really good at writing that, and all the psychos and killers and monsters. So it was a win-win situation. I knew it was going to be a great time. Everyone would have a great time.
Danny, did you have any concerns about drawing a story about a guy who's invisible? I mean, it seems like it would be a bit of a challenge for an artist.
Well, yeah, sure. Sorry, I'm sick. Um, it was going to be a challenge, but James said when he proposed that, he said, "You are great at negative spaces, so you're going to be great at it." And yes, okay, yeah, that's how we rolled with negative spaces and everything. But I think we did it instinctively. Also, it's more what we said previously. Another thing that we worked on it emotionally. So
Yeah.
even if drawing invisibility and depicting it on the page, but also in the script, and the way we tackle the whole thing is emotional and not sometimes not that literal. Also, uh, James, how did you tackle
Yeah, no, no, no. I mean,
invisibility?
it was a like we wanted the invisibility to work
Hmm.
more than just in the literal like visual invisibility.
Right.
We wanted to the way we portray Griffin throughout this entire story is he's almost always obscured. We never see a kind of straight shot of his face. He's always in shadow. It's always like obscured by like snow or by another person. We never really get that kind of like straight on shot of the visible the visible man.
Right.
And you know that was a very deliberate choice. He's always keeping the world at arm's length from him. He never wants anyone to know what he's really thinking. And we, as the the reader, gets the inside look at his mind as he transforms.
Which is pretty frightening, yeah, as
That's
he
it.
sort of descends into craziness, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's
It's
kind of like as if the invisibility is a character of its own.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I
Hmm.
agree. I mean, it occurred to me when I was reading it that you've sort of taken the concept of invisibility and turned it on its head. So when Jack Griffin, who's the main character, who is experimenting with this drug that eventually will turn him invisible, he's at dinner and people are talking about him as if he wasn't there, right? I
Yeah.
mean, he is an invisible man even before he becomes physically invisible. Have
Yeah.
you have you had that happen to you in real life where you've been a part of a conversation but it doesn't feel like you're part of a conversation?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
And you
like, I think
haven't
everyone,
enjoyed it.
yeah, it doesn't, I have not enjoyed it. It is, I mean, I think everyone like can understand kind of those kind of core feelings of alienation and not feeling in step with the rest of the world. But what makes Griffin so fascinating as a character is that he is like he's a very human monster. He is a psychopath. And that's what makes him stand out from the rest of the Universal monsters is that he is this like there's something dangerous in him that existed before he transformed himself into an invisible man. And that was, that's what we wanted to play with here and really make him like really show the ways in which he is deeply frightening before like long before he becomes the iconic figure.
Yeah, he descends into darkness, but he's pretty dark to begin with, right?
Yeah, exactly.
While reading James' script, I realized that uh, he James is describing a darkness, but the most frightening thing is that you can see the darkness as a reader in you also a bit.
Yeah.
Like his Griffin's thoughts, we've all done them. We've all had these
Yeah.
thoughts. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the dangerous thing for me, the true horror here.
Well, and
Mm.
and that was very much like the goal with some of the narration here is that he starts by explaining these things and it feels kind of reasonable. And then he takes like a dramatic step forward that he treats as reasonable as as the thoughts that you've gone along with him on. And then it's just like you start seeing how quickly he jumps to these like very dangerous conclusions. And yeah, that's where the horror is.
I totally agree. And I think again, if we're thinking about that first issue, there's what one of the things that amazed me about it was it's 95% setup, right? It is there is not a lot of action. There's one murder that takes place sort of off screen, if you will. It's at the very beginning, sort of a flash forward. How were you able to, but despite all of that, you both created a page turner, something that you just are constantly wanting to see what is going to happen. How were you able to accomplish that, both from a story perspective as well as visually?
Well, I think that like so much of it was just knowing that I could rely on Danny. That if when you're working with an incredible artistic talent, like you know that it's just like every page is going to be beautiful. And then as the writer, the goal is like it's to hold, it's like to build and hold tension, and then choose when you're releasing it. And that's just like that is the like that was sort of my job, like heading into this is just like, okay, what are the moments that we want to like build up this kind of insidious feeling, and then when do we want to release it in the most horrible way? And like the goal here was always to do this kind of slow burn psychological thriller, because it's just like knowing where the story of Invisible Man goes and where the film starts. Like we had strict rules about like what the that were self-imposed, but it was just like we had rules that about like where this story could go. And it's just like so it was kind of it was the creative challenge of just like, okay, like knowing that like with this team we are going to be able to like build and hold this tension and make people live in the horror of Jack Griffin, before he like as he starts the journey that will transform him into the Invisible Man.
It's exactly the same thing that James described, but from the artist's side.
Perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, from the artist's perspective. The team was great, and uh, it's always it's a challenge, but it's an enjoyable challenge too, especially when you get a script that is well written, and we all know James is very good at that. That you try to like James will try to describe an emotion, and I will try to pass this on to the page and just be the eyes of the reader, not just to show what what happens in James's mind, and every writer's to show to the reader what is happening. But also for me, it's also you need to, as an artist, to leave a small part for the reader to fill in, not
Yeah.
show everything, so that everything happens, something happens in their brain also. Mm.
So you touch on this, but talk about the collaboration between writer and artist. How does it work with the two of you?
I mean, a lot of it started in
Mm.
It's one
I
brain,
mean,
apparently. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it was a like it started with the emotions of the story and the like central vibe of it. And it's just like it was from start we knew that like what this story was about, and what we were interested in like depicting. And so we like it started with a conversation outside of a bar in Harrogate, in the UK. And then it was just like once we got into it, we were, you know, like we like it, I think we just sort of we executed what we set out to do. And it was like it was a really seamless thing, especially and I do think it helps that it's like we had worked together before on the like particularly on this one shot that as a part of the Fear State crossover when I was on Batman,
Hmm.
that focused on the character Miracle Molly. And that was like a cyberpunk story. That was us leaning into like Akira influences and all of that. But here it was a different set of influences. And obviously the biggest influence is the original Invisible Man film. But it was just like we're in a different era, and we are like bringing this kind of like psychological thriller about a true psychopath into the world of like Universal Monsters, and just sort of like what seeing what we could get away with, issue to issue there.
Yeah, it helps that we have a personal relationship also. It
Yeah,
always, yes, it's like with great teams, I feel when you have a great collaboration, it's also, it adds up to if we know each other and we are good friends and you know you've talked with the person and you know their brain, it always adds something in the project, my
yeah,
opinion.
That's
yeah.
Mm.
great. So we've got time for just one last very quick question for both of you. If you were able to turn invisible at one time in your life, past, present, or future, what would it be and why?
Oh wow.
Oh
And
boy.
this interview does not count, by the way. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Because you are
yeah.
invisible.
yes, I
Yeah.
am.
uh, I don't know. I think there are always in like embarrassing moments in the past where it's just like you just do not want anyone to be able to see you. And then there's definitely like at some of the bigger comic conventions, it would just be nice to sort of like stop existing for like 10 minutes, and then like be able to get between point A and point B, and like nobody's gonna like come up
Oh my
asking
God,
for a
it's
thing
James
signed.
Tynion. I have to get his autograph. Yeah,
Like
yeah, I get it. Danny?
you know, those moments would be great.
Would be great. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that when I was younger, I want to be more invisible, but now I don't mind. I can handle things. I don't know. I can't think of a maybe some shameful situation, but I can't think of
Well,
something
now I'm
safe.
really interested in finding out
Yeah,
what it is.
I can't think of this. My whole life is a shame, so I don't know if I'm just great.
Well, there's a
Yeah,
quote for you. Well, thank
yeah.
you very much to this amazing creative team, James Tynion and Dani. The book is Universal Monsters: The Invisible Man, and is out now from Skybound and Image Comics. Thank you both very much. Best of luck with the book.
Oh,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much.